The legal charge of murder is one of those terms. I mean, it's probably one of the most serious, but also one of the most casually misused terms in conversation.
It really is.
So today, we're diving into the rulebook to find that exact line. What specific circumstances elevate an unlawful killing to murder?
Exactly. We're not just defining the crime, we're dissecting the why. What are the specific ingredients that make certain killings so much worse in the eyes of the law?
And fundamentally, you need what? 4 things?
That's right. A person was killed, the accused did it, and this is the key. A specific legal qualifying circumstance was present.
Right. And we have to first exclude killings that get their own special label. Things like killing your spouse or parent or infanticide.
Yes, infanticide is a big one. The victim has to be at least 3 days old. If they're younger, it falls into a whole separate legal box.
So once you clear those hurdles, the framework we're looking at lists 6 broad categories for these circumstances.
Things like treachery, evident planning, or doing it for money. Even using really destructive methods, like fire or poison.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think. It makes you ask, does the offender even need to mean to kill the person for it to be murder?
And the answer, maybe surprisingly, is that it depends entirely on the method.
How so?
Well, if the killer used methods that cause great waste and ruin, think of a fire, a big explosion, or even using a car as a weapon, our source material is very clear.
You need proof.
You need proof of an actual design to kill. The court has to see that the fire, for instance, wasn't just arson that went horribly wrong. It had to be set with the specific goal of killing that person.
Wait, okay, so that seems almost backward. You're saying if the killing is qualified by the other circumstances, like treachery, price, or cruelty, intent to kill is not necessary.
That's the fascinating legal twist. Yes, if the defendant uses a method that is inherently vicious or, calculated, like treachery.
Like a sneak attack.
Right. The simple voluntary act of using that treacherous method is enough. The law basically says you intended to commit a serious crime in a vicious way, so you're on the hook for murder, even if the death itself was an unforeseen outcome in your mind.
Speaking of that viciousness, let's look closer at treachery. I believe the legal term is alevosía.
It is, and it's pretty much what you'd think. The attack is sudden, it's unexpected, and it's done in a way that gives the victim no chance to defend themselves.
So, shooting someone from behind, striking a man who's already wounded and on the ground.
Obvious examples, yes, but here's what really stands out. The automatic rule for children. Killing a child of tender years is automatically murder qualified by treachery.
Even if you don't know the exact method of the attack.
Even then, their defenselessness is just legally assumed. It is the treachery.
Wow. Okay, that brings us to circumstance 6, cruelty and outrage.
Right, and it's 2 separate ideas. First, you have cruelty. This means inflicting extra injuries, deliberate ones that aren't necessary for the killing.
And the law is specific here, isn't it? The victim has to be alive for those extra injuries.
They must be alive. It proves the intent was to cause pain, not just to kill. But the second part is outraging or scoffing at the corpse.
And this isn't about the number of injuries.
Not at all. This is about violating the victim's dignity, even after death. The sources give some pretty grim examples.
Not quite.
Things like dismemberment or acts of profound disrespect. One case mentioned removing intestines and, hanging them on the victim's neck like a necklace, specifically to mock the body. It's about total dehumanization.
And it's so important for you to remember this procedural point. You only need one of these circumstances to make it murder.
Just one. If you have more, say, both treachery and premeditation, one qualifies the crime as murder and the others just become generic aggravating factors.
But that single critical factor has to be spelled out in the official charge sheet from the very beginning.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean? I mean, when you step back...
It means the legal label of murder isn't really about the death itself. It all hinges on the conditions surrounding the act, the viciousness, the planning, the method.
That's the whole thing. It's that one ingredient that shows the moral culpability is just on another level.
Which leaves us with a final thought, a provocative one, about what seems like the simplest category, evident premeditation.
Right. Most people hear premeditation and think, oh, they plan to kill. Easy.
But it's not.
Not at all. Legally, proving it is like a triathlon for the prosecution. They have to prove 3 distinct things. First, the exact time the offender decided to commit the crime.
Not just a general idea, but a specific moment.
A specific moment. Second, they have to show an overt act that proves the killer clung to that decision. And third, a sufficient amount of time has to pass between that decision and the killing.
And what's a sufficient amount of time?
Courts often look for at least 3 hours. The point is, proving real legal premeditation is so much harder than you'd ever assume.